Hi, this is Brendan, and this is going to be another video to help you with your math course. What we're going to do is we're going to model these equations, y equals a times b to the x for each of the following sets of points. So what we can see here is the equation that we're trying to fit these to is, as stated above, y equals a times b to the x. And what we do is for each one of these problems, there's two methods to solve it. I'm first going to focus on the elimination method. We're going to plug in the y point and the x point. So for part A, I'm going to put 12 in for y equals a times b raised to the second. And then I'm going to put 3/4 in for y is equal to a times b to the -2. What I do when I do the elimination method is I'm then going to take these two equations and I'm going to divide them by each other. So what I end up with when I do this is I can see that the a's are simply going to cross off with one another. Over here on the left hand side, I'm going to have 12 divided by 3/4. And what we remember is when we're dividing by a fraction, we keep the first one, we change the sign, and then we flip. And then when we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So this would be 48/3, which simply reduces to 16. So this equation here is going to become 16 equals, the a's have canceled out, and when I'm dividing exponents, I simply subtract. So b squared over b to the -2 would be b squared minus -2, which would be b to the 4th. I can then solve this equation by taking the 4th root of both sides. And what I find is that b is going to equal 2. Now, once I know b equals 2, I can take this value of b and I can plug it back into either of the two equations on the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take that value and I'm going to plug it into the top equation because I like to avoid negative exponents. And that's going to become 12 is equal to a times 2 squared. We know 2 squared is equal to 4, so this becomes 12 is equal to 4a. And if we divide both sides by 4, we find that a is simply equal to 3. So now that we have our value for a and we have our value for b, we can go ahead and write our equation as y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to the x. Alright, so I hope that makes sense, and then I want you to go ahead and try the second problem on your own. Don't simply watch the video. Maybe pause it for a second, see if you can get it right on your own. And now that you've tried the problem, what we're going to do is, again, we start with the equation y is equal to a times b to the x. We're going to go ahead and plug in y equals 36 is equal to a times b raised to the -2. And then I'm going to plug in 4/9 is equal to a times b to the second. Now, typically I like to put the larger value on top. You could also have done this the other way and put the bottom equation on top. This is just my personal preference. But as we did before, we're going to go ahead and divide these two equations. And we know what happens when we divide them is the 36 divided by the 4/9. I'm going to go ahead and do this up here. You keep, change, and then flip. So this is the same as 36 times 9/4. We can cross simplify, so that becomes 9/1. And this is just going to equal 81. The a's cross off. And we subtract the exponents. So b to the -2 minus b to the second would be b to the -4th. What I could do next is I could take this b to the -4th and I could drop it into the denominator, so I'm not dealing with a negative exponent. I then need to multiply both sides here by b to the 4th. And the reason I do that is I do not want my variable in the denominator. And then what I would end up with is 81 times b to the 4th is equal to 1. I could divide both sides by 81. Crosses off on the left side. And then I'm left with b to the fourth. It's kind of an ugly color, is equal to 1 over 81. And I would take the fourth root of both sides, and I would find that b is equal to 1 over 3. So now we can go ahead and write our final equation here, and that would be y is equal to, oh wait, nope, I forgot. We have to find the a value very quickly, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to plug into the second equation here, and I'm going to have 4 over 9 is equal to a times 1/3 squared. This is 4 over 9 is equal to 1 over 3 squared is 1/9. A times 1/9 is going to be a over 9. And then I can go ahead and multiply both sides by a, and I find that, or multiply both sides by 9, and I'm going to find that a is equal to 4. So my equation then becomes y is equal to 4 times 1/3 raised to the x. And that's how we can do these two types of problems, or this single type of problem, using the elimination method. So they're both for our answers. Feel free to review this video as many times as you need. And if you have any other questions, any comments, please leave them down, and feel free to subscribe to my channel.